Good evening, everybody. Welcome to BunkaMania Goes to the Movies. I am the giraffe, me, Jeremy Graves. I, of course, am joined by Harriett Manga Girl. And in what I'm sort of calling a soft pilot episode, if you will, of a forthcoming regular concept from BunkaMania UK, this is Go to the Movies, where we will be discussing films. Surprise, surprise, look at the title of the podcast. Today, the focus is the brand new movie Deadpool and Wolverine. We'll be kicking things off with a spoiler-free discussion. Then we will make it very well known, to be quite frank. There'll be a giant bar on screen. You will not be able to miss it when we head into the spoiler zone. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you very much for giving us a chance, whether you are watching live on Twitch or on YouTube, and be sure to add your thoughts into the comments below as we go. If you're watching after the fact, you can find timestamps in the description, and if you're on your podcast provider of choice, you should be able to find the timestamps in there as well. Harriett, to begin with, how are you doing on the hottest day in the UK this year so far?
I'm melting. I hate this.
Yeah.
Please, can the sun stop burning? No, to be fair, we're always complaining about the weather, but it's just like, oh my word.
Yeah, right. So the reason I mention this up front, folks, is because it is literally about 30 degrees where we both are. The UK is not designed for this.
No.
So if you see perhaps a fan in shot, or you can hear a background sound, maybe a seagull having a party outside a window, that is just the way this is going to roll tonight, as it were. As it were. But Harriett, on to the main course. Well, actually, you know what? The appetizer of the discussion tonight. Let's talk some spoiler-free thoughts when it comes to Deadpool and Wolverine. I have one simple question to ask you, which will require one simple answer. Can you describe your thoughts, or sum up your thoughts of Deadpool and Wolverine in one word?
I think crazy. That's a good way to kind of round it all up, I think.
I think. So, I will tell you what mine is. And I sort of hinted at this earlier, that I had thoughts, because I came out of the cinema speechless, of which, for reference, folks, I saw it today. And Harriett, you saw it, I think, was it opening day you saw it?
Literally opening day, yeah. So I've had a few days to kind of think about what's happened.
So my word to describe my thoughts on this film is perfect. I thought this film was incredible. I think it is exactly the ending that the Fox universe deserved. And the way that they have managed to pave the road potentially going forward for things has been executed spectacularly. And it was just wall-to-wall laughs, insane action. I had a damn good time in the giant IMAX screen that I saw it in.
Oh, I need to. I'm seeing this again, and I'm going to see it in a bigger cinema than what I saw it in. Though, to be fair, the crowd, it was virtually full my cinema. Everyone reacted the way I was happy they reacted to it. Put it that way. It was just like, it was perfect. So I was worried it'd be a quiet crowd, but nope. I loved it.
Yeah, there were about 10 people in my screen, because I managed to catch it in the afternoon because plans change, as it were. And there were about 10 of us in there, and we were all laughing out loud. It's very much a film, in my opinion, if you're going to laugh at anything, you will just laugh out loud. It is so difficult not to. I'm sure there are some things I missed because I was laughing so much at some point.
Yeah, same. I think there was probably one or two things I missed as well, and it was just like, oh yeah, that happened. And I was just like, yeah, because you're kind of, from what happened, you're reveling what happened, and then something else is sprung, and it's just like, okay, I haven't even processed what's happened yet. So but yeah, it was just so good. Actually, your word is is a good way to describe it. It's perfect, really. I thought it was great.
To sort of set the scene for folks listening and or watching to this, in terms of going into this, had you watched all the trailers? Had you read up lots of stuff about it? Watched interviews? Sort of how into the hype, if you will, were you? Or how engaged were you in all the conversation going in?
Okay, so I'd seen the first movie. I haven't seen the second movie yet. I will. I do plan to see that, but I kind of know what happens anyway. I watched most of the trailers. I think I skipped one or two because I thought, okay, I kind of don't want to know everything. Because one potential spoiler was in it, and I thought, I wasn't mad at it though, to be fair. But yeah, I built up to it. I've been watching the interviews with Hugh and Ryan. Yeah. And I mean, they're great together doing interviews. Like, it's kind of like you see Hugh like as Hugh, but Ryan is Deadpool pretty much 24/7. So it's kind of, I mean, I've seen the interview with the puppies because that's a given. I've seen the Hot Wings interview. That's very good. The hot ones. It's just good. I was just had a good feeling going into this, watching it, and then yeah, I wasn't disappointed, and I've just loved the build up to it. Even now, I can't go on TikTok and hear a certain song now. Even I dance to it on my TikTok, so it's kind of taken up all my feed on my Instagram, my TikTok, and I have no regrets. So we'll talk about it in a minute, but yeah.
Exactly. So from my point of view, seen all the other Deadpool films and whatnot, when it comes to trailers, I generally avoid trailers. And that's just because this is going to sound like a bit of a flex, but it's not. Because I've been involved in the film and TV industry, I look into things in a far different way in a trailer. And so I don't want to potentially read too much or potentially spoil something for myself. So I just like to go in blind, as it were. And my word, was it worth it this time? It pretty much is every time. But this time in particular, it was just super, super worth it. So I guess we're going to head into spoiler talk momentarily, folks. And just to demonstrate they're inbound. They really are. So, Harriett, before we go inbound on spoilers, any final thoughts pre-spoiler talk you would like to convey?
I think even if you are not well versed with all the Marvel cinematography or the lore, I think you should still go see this movie. Even because it does explain bits in it. It does kind of go into some backstory. Go in and watch it. I mean, I had one of my work colleagues talk to me about it today, and even he said his partner had never known any of it and loved it. So I think even if you are not a fan, go see it. It's worth your time, especially if you're a fan. If you're not a fan, go see this. It's so good.
100% agree. So from there, we are now going to go into the spoiler zone talk, as it were. So that banner momentarily will disappear. Spoiler time. So there's so much to dissect.
There is, isn't there?
So okay, let's focus first of all, because I think going into this film, from my point of view, because again, hadn't seen the trailers, I was thinking, how are they going to integrate Wolverine into this? Because if it's set technically in the Fox universe, which obviously has now been embedded into the MCU technically and whatnot, how are they going to make that work? And the way they do that is actually really freaking clever. Yeah. And I was not expecting to literally see an adamantium skeleton-based fight, which was incredible, to the freaking Backstreet Boys of all things.
Oh no, it's NSYNC.
NSYNC, sorry. I'm a
I mean, I'm of that time of that I did like both NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, which I only know recently were under the same kind of management. So I was just like, yeah. Once that started, I knew we were in for a good time. It's the whole, and the first inside joke of like, there's so many bones in the body. An extra one because I watched the Gossip Girls. Obviously, Ryan Reynolds is married to Liv Blakely, who was in Gossip Girl. So that, and the whole sequence was so good. I will put my hands up at the minute. I did the dance while I was sitting down. I didn't care. I think there's a few people around me who were kind of like bopping along to it who knew the song, but yeah, that fight scene at the beginning was just so good. I mean, sorry, Logan's skeleton, but also worth it.
100% agree.
Totally worth it.
So you're going to notice this when you watch it in IMAX, but the thing that got me most of all about this sequence was the sound quality of this song combined with the sounds of the fight. For some reason in IMAX, it is amplified to the max, and it is insane how good it is.
I need to see it at the IMAX. Like I said, I need to before the run finishes because I saw one of the Marvel movies, but I saw it right from the front, so I didn't really experience it very well. But I think from my perspective, yeah, the sound was actually not bad. Like, it was loud enough that you felt the vibration, like felt like you were in the fight, which was good. There was another thing I was going to talk about as well. Oh yeah, that was it. The bit at the beginning before the fight, and he kind of was talking to the skeleton. It's like, oh, Hugh.
So that actually brings up a good point. The fourth wall breaking in this film, and we're going to be going all over the place with this, folks. We're sort of having a casual conversation.
Yeah.
But the fourth wall breaking in this was so well done. It was both in universe and real life. There's a point where Deadpool just outright says something to the effect of, yeah, you know, things have been a bit weird in Marvel. I think we peaked at Endgame, as it were. You know, Fox got bought by Disney. There was a rights issue, ooh, kind of thing. It was just, and as soon as you get stuff like that, and then like you said, when he calls him Hugh, it's just like, okay, this is going to be something really good fun. And the other thing to factor in as well with this film, which I think there is one line of dialogue that actually infers this, and I don't know how many people are going to cotton onto this, but this was filmed during the writer's strike. So when it came to improvisation, maybe like they had done in the previous films, they couldn't improvise. And maybe they did reshoots and did some stuff. But there was one line during the film, I think it was when they're at Wade's house and he's having like the get together with everybody. And someone's about to say something. And one of the lines of dialogue is something to the effect of, hey, no improvisation. And that's what I remembered.
Oh, yes.
And that's when I remembered, oh, yeah, this was filmed during the writer's strike, wasn't it? Because I remember that being a talking point online of, is it going to work if they can't improv?
Yeah.
And I don't know the degree to what was reshoots, but just executed so well across the board, all the dialogue.
Oh, God, yeah. That I didn't realize that. That makes sense now.
Yeah.
I thought he was supposed to be staying the silent character throughout, but that's even better, to be fair.
And obviously a big element of the film is the multiversal aspect, which is going to play into things going forward, which we may or may not touch on today. But the multiversal stuff it's been a part of it for a while, obviously. Kind of the most recent phase of things. It was all building up originally for a big multiversal thing involving Kang. Not going to mention that character anymore for obvious reasons. But it was all building up to be around that and such. And the way they integrated it into this, it made perfect sense. It was very logical how they did it. And it actually added a whole new dynamic to Wolverine as a character compared to what we had seen. The amount of lines in the film from Deadpool himself effectively going, you people watching this, you have wanted this for so long. You are going to get it, and I will give it to you. It was just freaking fan service. Also,
I mean,
I'm going all over the place, but the other thing that got me, and maybe this is just a very UK specific thing, and I just don't know how stringent they are. Is this the first MCU film to ever mention ultimate hard drugs and the various ways you could refer to said hard drug?
I believe so. And there was some clever names in there as well.
Yeah, because this one was only rated 15 here in the UK. So I was just thinking, how did you get away with that? Also, that was a moment when I think Deadpool said, no, Feige said we couldn't say that. So good.
It's brilliant. It's just like, I can't rave about this movie enough. I'm just like, yeah, the whole scene with the birthday was very sweet. Because obviously, I mean, I kind of guessed what happened with him and Vanessa, and it was kind of like when something is going to go down when he's like, I love you guys, I'm so happy with you all, knock knock knock, oh, who could that be? Then suddenly TVA covered, like, right, you're coming with us, sort of thing. And you think, well, this is how it kicks off. See, that's the thing about the movie, it kind of kicks off a bit in the where it should be, like the end of the first half or something like that, and then it kind of says, okay, we're going to rewind this and actually see how it led up to this point. So it was,
which realistically is only 20 minutes itself in the actual movie.
Yeah. So. And I think even towards the end, like, Deadpool turned the screen and said, don't worry guys, this is the final act, we're nearly there. So right. Which is good. I mean, now I will say this, I have not watched Loki. I know of it, I know certain parts of it, so I kind of learnt about it in this and then reading it up afterwards. So
the whole TVA concept and such.
Yes, the whole idea of it, of all these different universes and the strings and keeping things along. And then the whole thing with the Deadpool kit and the suit. The
Yeah,
new suit.
that fitting was the most hands-on fitting I've seen in quite a while.
Oh my god! I mean, I've never had a suit fitting, but you know, I don't think it goes like that.
Yeah, and there's a few interesting comments in the chat actually when it comes to, not to say gripes, but I think this is actually an interesting point I was gonna bring up.
Oh yeah.
And this is from Aisharat. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But biggest gripe I had to ask my other half: what shit did we start on Earth, on the two different Earths, if you will? Because they
Yeah.
did flip flop. And I would say, though I said the movie is perfect, that is probably the one element where if you go in not knowing it, that might be a little bit of a concept to get around. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I think it didn't play into it so much that it was a detriment ultimately. In my opinion, I could be totally wrong. And if anyone disagrees, I would not harp on you at all for feeling that way, because they ultimately pull Wolverine from another one into his one, and it makes total sense. Oh, right. Well, so let's just talk about Wolverine for a minute. And I appreciate I'm doing a lot of talking here. It's very fresh in my brain. So the montage sequence of him going to visit the different Wolverines.
I love this so much.
We got Age of Apocalypse Wolverine.
I've written it down what we got.
Yeah, we got, if I remember correctly, we got him being Patch at one point. We got, I'm just going to describe him as Chibi Wolverine. It's the only way I can put it.
Do you know what the internet have described him as? And it's brilliant.
Go
Short
on.
King Wolverine.
Short King.
We stand a Short King. That's what they're basically saying. And that killed me, because that is his height in the comics. I think he's shorter than me in the comics, like by 2 inches. And it's just like, when I saw that, I was just thinking, oh my god, right? Okay. And then obviously the montage begins. Omega Wolverine. Oh my god. Sorry, I was just like, that was brilliant. It was so good. And they done all the variants so well, like the crucifix with the X and the skulls.
When that scene came up, I just went, what?
Oh
and the guy a few seats down from me just went, oh, blooming heck, what happened there? But
I
just
think we
all the
all
references.
screamed. I know. And then Old Man Logan as well.
With the shotgun just underneath a blanket.
Boom. No questions asked. End of. We even had when he faced the Hulk as well. Though people did say he first the Grey Hulk, not the green, but technicalities and all that.
Yeah, has Grey Hulk technically been in the MCU?
No. I'm spoilerish. Well, if anyone hasn't,
I don't know, to be honest. So
okay, I won't say anything. But
that's cool. That's just me saying at random. Like, thus far, has there been a Grey Hulk? And I can't remember. I know.
Yeah.
For the sake of argument, I know in an upcoming film there is something to do with a Hulk, but I don't know what, as it were.
Okay.
To be clear about that, so that's fine. I'm aware there is a Hulk presence, if you will.
Yeah, so I won't say any more than that. And then we had one more Wolverine.
Go on.
Well,
go on.
Which from montage we did not see what he looked like, because you saw him from behind, and I was thinking, wait a minute.
This one was utterly mental.
And I legitimately screamed out loud. It was Henry Cavill. I was just like, mind my language. I was just like, holy shit. I was just like, I wasn't expecting it. And yet it was perfect. It was just like, okay, I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, but alternative universe. And first thing I thought, because Matty's in the chat, the first thing I thought was, well, I know someone is going to be happy when he eventually sees this. But I did scream out, oh my god. I think everyone did in the cinema as well, because we were just not expecting it.
Yeah, we'll get onto more cameos as we go, but the cameo list in this film is nuts.
Oh my god, it's
so good. But the thing about the Cavill cameo is it did two things which are both incredible. One, it made you suddenly think, oh my god, if Cavill ends up being Wolverine in the MCU for real, oh my god, quite frankly. But what it also did, I don't know if you caught the dialogue because I was going mental, but did you hear Deadpool's line about the other thing he'd been doing? As in they were referencing him being Superman.
I think I cottoned on, but because everyone was like screaming, I couldn't
Yeah.
hear a lot after
It
that.
was
But no,
something
go
to the
on.
effects of, we'll treat you far better here than they did over there. It was something to that effect. It was very just direct.
I mean, this is Deadpool. It's gonna stick it to everyone pretty much. And to be fair play.
And you know what? It wasn't even the only DC reference in the film either. Because there was also an outright Batman mention when he said, "Oh look, it's Batman, but he can move his neck."
Oh my god! I will say this: do you know how he was credited for this in this?
I didn't know. Go on.
The cavalry.
So well done.
So
well done.
Oh my god, it's just so good.
And I suppose this brings on the topic now of Hugh Jackman reprising Wolverine. And in the context, it's a different universe Wolverine. It's a Wolverine that's been through a lot, which you gradually get to hear more about in the film. And it's touched on in a very interesting way as well, especially with the villain, who we'll come on to in the other sort of various villainous characters as well shortly.
Yeah.
But you can tell, what's the way to try and articulate this? Okay, so here's what I'm going to articulate is, you can tell when someone is genuinely really into a role, be it through method acting or just because they're having a damn good time. And you could tell that the film Logan, it was the swan song for Wolverine. It was an excellent film. You could tell that Hugh Jackman also really enjoyed doing it, despite the incredibly dark subject matter throughout most. But this was giving him a chance to do a different Wolverine. Perhaps a more comic-friendly Wolverine, let's say, for want of a better phrase, and one with quite a dark backstory as well in a completely different way, but one where he got to do so much character development over the course of the film as well. You can understand why he came back for it, quite frankly. And I thought he was absolutely brilliant in this film. Him and Ryan Reynolds' chemistry is so good.
Yeah, it kind of did remind you, because I love X-Men anyway, like and it felt like seeing Wolverine as Wolverine, if that makes sense. That kind of, I know it's of a different timeline, but still, like the dark, moody side to him was really good. Not to say it wasn't bad in all the other X-Men films, but it was just more like, after Logan, I thought, oh, we're never going to see him again. But then when we saw him in this, I was just like, yep, that's what I love. And Hugh Jackman, I've always loved his Wolverine, so I was just so happy to see him back. And also the way he looked, perfect. Even the hair, like the way it was kind of spiked, the suit. We will go into the suit later on, because there was another surprise to that, which I freaked out to. But yeah, with Hugh being back as Wolverine, I loved, and like you said, his chemistry with Ryan was just fantastic. It was just like Deadpool trying to like, come on, we can do this. We need to save my universe, and Wolverine's just like, F off, sort of thing. I just want to get the next dose of alcohol to help get me going. I
hope someone's on a swear counter for this film.
That was another thing. I was hearing, I mean, obviously we heard it in Logan as well, but obviously hearing it also in a Marvel film is kind of, wow, that's something I'm not used to.
Yeah, and we'll certainly get onto what one of the cameos was saying, as it were, because my word. But the other thing about the Wolverine dynamic in this film, which I thought it actually made sense when all was said and done, was the idea that I can't remember the exact phrase that was used by Paradox, who was the TVA person, if you will, overseeing the universe. But the idea that the Wolverine of this timeline has died, as in the one that we saw in Logan, therefore that world is kind of going apart a little bit, almost like it wasn't meant to happen. Which in itself does raise a few questions, because I'm pretty sure that world was very desolate come the end of that film. Like, it's kind of very barren, a lot of what we saw. So it kind of makes you wonder, where sort of did Deadpool and everyone else fit into the pantheon of things as this was going on? But pushing that to the side because it doesn't matter. But the idea that he pulled a Wolverine from another timeline to fill the gap that was left by the now deceased Logan, it's like, yeah, I actually get why he thought that. But what he didn't account for was the fact that this Wolverine was the worst Wolverine.
Yeah, that was it. Because obviously, when he saw him at the bar, he was drinking. Even to the point where he pointed the gun at him. That was not the gun. Smile for the shoot or something like that at the end of Deadpool's gun was a quite clever touch. And yeah, Wolverine's just like, no, let me just finish this. Go ahead, shoot, sort of thing. Oh god. Yeah, the worst one. What a thing to pick, what a person to pick out of all the Deadpools. I mean, out of all the Wolverines, but obviously he didn't know. He just pulled them out. It's like, here you go. And he's fully in his suit for some reason. I don't know how quick turn they turned that about, which one thing I did question. But yeah, then when
I think there was a line when after he had passed out, and that's when Deadpool took him, he made a reference to, like, he looked under his jacket. And he said, oh! And at first, I thought I misheard that. Yeah, in fact, Asher just said in the chat he was wearing under his jacket. So there was actually a direct line to that. But I thought I misheard it originally. And then I realized, oh, no, I didn't. Good job, Jeremy's ears. Good job.
But yeah, when he turned up and then Paradox obviously said, you've picked the worst one. I was just thinking, well, what happened in his world? Because that's the thing that started turning my head. It's like, how is he so bad that he's the worst one? And then obviously you hear the backstory as you go along, and it's just like, oh, nice one, Deadpool.
Yeah,
could have picked a short one.
But, and this probably brings up. This is actually a good moment to now sort of carrying on that thought that I said earlier of the perfect conclusion to the Fox universe. Because we had the mention that, Marvel got, what was it? Fox got bought by Disney and there was a rights issue. And then we outright have a fight scene in The Void, which I'm glad they brought this concept into the MCU, just the concept of The Void.
Yeah.
Where, what do they do? Because it was something that I think has been vaguely touched in the low-key TV shows. I've only seen the first season.
Yes.
But the idea that when there's it's a variant, that's the word. When there's like a variant that's kind of doing its own thing and it shouldn't be where it is, where do they go? And they throw them in The Void, which plays a huge part in the remainder of the story, which we will get on to who else is in The Void. But in terms of what this leads to an early fight sequence where we outright have half of the 20th Century Fox logo embedded in the desert.
Yes.
Laugh so hard at this.
Oh my god, the cinema went crazy over that. Including me, because it was just like, well played. Well played.
And this is also a good moment to mention the fighting, because the action across this film as a whole was so good. So good. Great choreography. I'm sure some people will say, some of the CG was quite obvious. And it's like, look, Hugh Jackman can't move like a Wolverine, buddy.
No. He's like in his 50s, isn't he?
Exactly, But I thought the action sequences across this were incredible, particularly when it's starting to reach what you initially thought was the peak of the film. I would say, kind of the crescendo of Act 2. That probably makes sense what I mean by that, and we'll get to it as we go. But the action sequences was so good, and the whole idea of exploring what the Void is, but what it also led to was cameos. And the first cameo we got was one Chris Evans. Again, I didn't know this was coming if this had been publicized at all because I avoid everything.
No,
but Chris Evans came, and there's that moment where early on in the film, Deadpool is just like, I get to be alongside Captain America in the Avengers, which is also another plot point we've not discussed yet, him trying to trial to be in the Avengers.
With Happy,
Yeah, well, we might come back to that and him describing what he was doing with some Hulk hands. We may come back to that. But so we get Chris Evans appearing, and suddenly we get, like, they literally say Mad Max Fury Road in this film.
It's like, where the heck did that come from? I know,
right? And then we get like Sabretooth and a bunch of other people, like I think it's OG Sabretooth as well from the X-Men films. Yes, they actually got the same actor to come back.
Yep.
And then this is leading to
Pyro. Yeah.
Because a fun fact, if I recall correctly, Toad is played by Ray Park, who was Darth Maul. There you go. Fun fact.
Yes.
That's my random fact for the day. Moving on. So we get Chris Evans, and we get. I laughed so hard.
I did as
Because
well.
at this point, we don't know what the void is. It's not been established. And when it's like, we're about to get the speech, and it's like, Avengers! Flame on! What?
Yeah.
And that's when you suddenly think, oh my god, that's how they got him to come back for a film. And it's like,
It's
fair
so well,
freaking play.
do you know what? It took me a moment, and I was just like, "What? It's Johnny Storm! What?
Yeah.
The heck?" I was just thinking, "Oh my lord!" And then when it clicked, I was like, "Oh yes, he played him, didn't he? He was the original." Oh,
Yeah.
it's been a
And,
while.
yeah, and there was, funnily enough, a Fantastic Four reference
Oh,
about a minute earlier,
the
which was the car.
yes, one of the cars, yes,
Yeah.
because they were driving random cars, and yeah, one of them was the
Yeah.
Fantastic Four one.
Yeah. And then
Still
this
saw it
leads. Oh,
coming.
after you, sorry. Sorry, after you. I keep talking, please.
No, I was gonna say, still never saw it coming though. To be fair.
Yeah, so good. And this leads us to sort of us getting introduced to the big bad of the film, whose base is the corpse of Ant-Man, which led to the fantastic line of, "Oh, Paul Rudd's aged."
Yeah.
Oh,
That was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. I think it's one of my favorite lines of the movie.
And the big bad of the film is Cassandra Nova. Now, in the context of the comic continuity, I know a little bit about Cassandra Nova. If I remember correctly, and Matty can correct me if I'm wrong, was introduced more in the Morrison run and was a big villain around that time of things. It may have even been earlier, actually. It may have been involved in Genosha in the comics. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong on that. But Cassandra Nova is legitimately quite frankly, an all-powerful villain in the context of the X-Men universe. So that's has never been explored in the films, but they actually completely justified it as to why.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. I mean, yeah, when you realize what kind of enemy she is, first of all, she's psychic. And second of all, she is the sister of Xavier Charles, and it's just like, oh, so we have an evil Xavier. This isn't gonna go down very well. It was the whole thing with the mind meld. That was freaky.
Yeah, in fact, actually, Matty, thank you very much for the clarification here. So, she was a Grant Morrison creation who debuted in the first full new X-Men arc. Thank you very much. And yeah, like, I thought Cassandra Nova as a villain was very well played. Yeah. And some of the different elements we got to explore, the harshness, the directness. There was also empathy as well, sort of later on in the film, which was a really nice character moment between them and Logan. And I will say, the way that she could go into a person's head physically, both ways are pretty damn freaky and scary.
Yep.
Now, if I had, this will get clipped out. If I had to pick one of the two ways, just having a finger pointed through my forehead or an entire hand milling about my head and my brain, 100% I'd just take the finger. I don't want fingers coming out my nose. Are you kidding me?
Please don't take it out of context, please. But no, I agree. I would try to take the finger as well. I'd rather have one hole in the head than 5.
Right? Exactly. And also, Matty just added in the chat that apparently that happened in the comics too. Oh my god.
Oh god.
So, yeah, Cassandra Nova is the big bad, and the whole idea that they are the one who can get them out of the void to return to Deadpool's Earth so that he could stop the timeline from being his timeline being ended, i.e. the Fox universe, if you will. That's the way to think of this.
Yeah.
And then we take a different turn. They manage to escape, which no one else had ever done before. And this leads us to more cameos, if you will. Well, first of all, it leads to a fight inside the back of a Honda, which is insane.
Oh, do you know what? I was waiting because I saw the soundtrack list before this begun. And when I saw The Greatest Showman, I was thinking, okay, I love this soundtrack so much. Movie, yeah, I don't mind it, but the soundtrack I really love. And I was thinking, how are they going to incorporate this into the movie? Oh, how? I don't care if it was only like 3 seconds. I was like, do you know what? I'll take it. That was well done. And then put it this way. I will never hear "You're the One That I Want" in the same way ever again. Because it was just so, that fight scene was incredible. That was pretty much all the anger coming out from both of them. Like the first scene you saw before was more of a warm-up, but this was very, very much the right, okay, we're really getting into the seriousness of this. We're gonna kill each other millions of times if we have to. And it seems like they pretty much did, to be fair. Yeah, to the point that they were brought away by someone we will find out in a bit who it was. But even before that, we saw Dogpool as well. Mary Poppins. Oh, what a sweetie.
Oh, Dogpool.
Dogpool was the best. And then Nice Pool, which freaked me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. It was
did
kind
its
of,
job then. Excellent.
Yeah, it did. It was just like, oh, I don't like this version. I know it's supposed to be like a good looking version of it, but it was just like
And that was also where we got the first mention of the Deadpool core. Which, when that was mentioned, I just went, "Oh, that'd be really cool if they come into the films at some point." Me thinking that's a future film thing.
And there's me seeing the spoiler, like one spoiler beforehand of like, wait, I've seen one, so I kind of didn't realize it was all going to hit off. But yeah, before that was just good. And
the whole fight came about because Wolverine figured out that Deadpool didn't actually know which was the crux of the Wolverine character, that what he had done, Wolverine, could be undone in his universe.
Yeah.
And that was the whole crux of that ridiculous fight. And the final shot, when they go to like nighttime, the car is just virtually non-existent. Yeah. And they're both just lying down in the seats. There's Wolverine just knocked out, and there's Deadpool just tied up in about 50 seatbelts.
Yeah.
Just that visual.
It's just so funny.
And then we see some footsteps. We see a couple of feet appear on screen, or boots, if you will. And then the car drives off. And next thing we know, we are somewhere else in this void realm. And Logan's got alcohol, so he's happy.
Yep.
And this brings us into the introduction.
Oh my god.
Of various other cameos, and in no particular order, but I've got an order in mind, as it were. First of all, we got to see X-23 from Logan.
Yes.
So, who was clearly thrown into the void, which is like harsh, but fair. I guess.
Yeah, I thought that as well, because she was the one who I saw in the trailer, and that's the spoiler. And I was like, do you know what? I'm happy because I loved her character in Logan. She was great.
And it made, honestly, again, it made sense. If this was taking place after Logan had died in Logan, it makes sense that that character would be there, just still in this universe. Then, in no particular order, we randomly got introduced to Jennifer Garner as Elektra, which lost my mind. I remember going to see Elektra in the cinema.
Oh my god. I saw it on DVD not too long ago, but I had seen it before, but it was just like, oh, okay. And then it kept coming.
and this is the point where you're like, where my first thought is, oh, that's such a fun little cameo. Like, whoever thought this is a genius? Then, in freaking walks Wesley Snipes as Blade, and I'm just like, what?
I know! I was just like, what? I mean, last time I saw him properly as a vampire is what we do in the shadows. So I was just like, oh god, wait, what's happening? At that point, I was just like, in my chair, like, what's going on? What? And then the last one.
And the last one is, so, to go back, this is a weird parallel, but it helps add context here. If you've seen the film The Flash, and later in that film, you kind of see different incarnations of Superman. And one of the incarnations that you see involves a proposed thing that never happened involving Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is not in this film. I'm saying that now. No. But what we did get was something that was proposed that never came to be in Gambit being played by Channing effing Tatum, who was doing the greatest, slightly bad, occasionally one word is good accent for Gambit.
I screamed so much when I saw this because I'm not gonna swear. I freaking love Gambit. I love it
likewise.
so much. And I've told you because I've said that I've wanted to cosplay as Rogue, and I'm like, oh my god. I literally was just like, it's perfect. The suit, the accents,
the mannerisms, how he handles cards, everything.
My god, I was just like, I need this now or yesterday, please. I need a movie of this. That was one of the biggest surprises of me of this movie because I was not expecting Gambit, and I'm not gonna say X-Men 97. Watch it. But yeah,
Gambit has a pivotal role in X-Men 97. That's all we'll say. Like,
that's all we'll say. But obviously, when I saw him, I was just like, I think I was in my chair and I literally, hold on, I'm gonna put my fan down and my phone down because I don't want to throw it. I was literally like,
yeah,
it's literally like, oh my god, like the best surprise, and it was just like, yeah, I'm happy now. I can die a happy woman. Cool.
and what we learn in this scene is that Chris Evans being Johnny Storm was part of this little group that had been formed.
At this point we didn't even talk about what happened to
This is why I've saved it. So at this point, this is when the group finds out that Johnny Storm has been killed. And the through line is when they got to Cassandra Nova's base inside Ant-Man's corpse, there was a moment where we find out that Johnny Storm has been on the run, and Cassandra Nova's been trying to capture him for a while.
Yeah.
And then Deadpool just starts spouting off a load of things that Johnny Storm allegedly said. And there's like all of this stuff being said, and Johnny Storm's like, I don't even know what that means. Like, how can you say I said that? And then the way it ultimately ends is Cassandra Nova just makes the skin of Johnny Storm disappear, and he literally drops into a pile of bones.
Yeah, it's literally like a Mortal Kombat fatality. Literally, the skin's sucked away, and he's just stood there, and then suddenly, gone. That did take me by surprise, and I was just like, "Oh god, she means serious business here." I wouldn't even mess with her after that, even before the hand swing.
Exactly, which then leads to everyone else finding out that he's been killed. And Deadpool was having to play it up like, oh, you know, I loved him. He was doing so good. He fought for a good cause. Oh, and there's Wolverine just sipping on a bottle of Jack in the background, or Jim Beam just going, go on. It was such a fun dynamic. But what the agreement was everyone was going to go to Cassandra Nova's base. And the idea was Cassandra Nova can get Deadpool and Wolverine back to the universe, to Deadpool's universe, for one of it, the Fox universe. And then things can be sorted out and saved, because it's at this point as well that we start to find out that the Paradox guy from the TVA has got effectively a big bomb for the Fox universe. The Time Ripper, I think it was called.
Yes, Time Ripper,
Yeah. And so this is now being established as a thing, but Cassandra Nova is now starting to become aware of it as well. And we're learning there's like some wheeler dealing things happening and such at the process.
Yeah.
All leading to this beaten up Honda driving into Cassandra Nova's base, and all the cameos that we mentioned, X-23, Elektra, Blade, Gambit, I can't even say that out loud, along with Wolverine and Deadpool, go into this base and start having a fight.
Yeah, because we didn't think Wolverine was going to turn up, to be fair, because him and X-23, Laura had a heart-to-heart beforehand where he kind of explained, you're not, like Laura was saying, like, you remind me of, you know, the person who saved me, and he's like, I didn't save, I'm not the right person, and then she says something like, well, you were never the right person, which was kind of a good scene, I think. So yeah, when you saw Wolverine just pop out of the boot, I was just like, I'll take it. Yeah, it's fine. I'll take that as an action shot.
And it was also referenced as well that the Punisher had been in the void, because that's how they got a bazooka to blow up the front door of the base.
I love the line from Cassandra when they said, "Oh, Punisher, which one?" Because
Yeah.
there's been loads of actors who's played
Literally.
Punisher. So...
Because what was it? It was Thomas Jane, the
Yeah.
most recent one from the Netflix shows whose name escapes me.
Wasn't Josh who plays Thanos? Wasn't he Punisher as well at one
No,
point?
maybe I don't know. The person who's in The Walking Dead, whose name escapes me, but who's really, really good in the Netflix shows. But yeah, either
Oh
way,
yeah,
there's been a few,
there's
as
been
it
a
were,
few.
to say the least. So that was a really fun little moment as well. But then we get this action sequence, and it's such good fun. Gambit just pulls out
Yeah.
a glowing staff from nowhere, literally, and we get some great action involving that.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. And there was also another fun line as well, very early on in the movie when they first get to Cassandra Nova's base, where I think Deadpool goes up to Juggernaut and he says, so you're Juggernaut for this film, are you?
Yeah, because it's not Vinnie Jones, but it's like...
Exactly. Which ultimately leads to Deadpool and Wolverine having a 2-on-1 confrontation with Cassandra Nova. And this is when we get the almost heart-to-heart moment. Thank you very much, Matty. The Punisher in the Netflix shows was Josh Bernthal. Thank you very, very much. Which then leads to Logan and Cassandra Nova having this almost heart-to-heart moment of Cassandra Nova literally digging into his mind as to what the heck happened. And the crux of it was, he just went out and got shit-faced. I'll just say it like he said it pretty much.
Pretty much, and killed a lot of people.
And he regrets it, and then went on by the sound of it, a global killing spree. Is kind of the gist of it.
The reason being is because humans had killed the X-Men. Yeah. So in his way, I think he even said he got, like you said, he got drunk. He killed the bad ones, and then he even said he killed the good ones. So he probably just killed out of spite, not knowing who did it. He just didn't care. I'm just gonna kill whoever I see in my way. And obviously he's lived with that guilt for his time in the world.
Yeah, he was in a berserker rage, and what he did literally turned all humans against mutants.
Pretty much, yeah. He was the catalyst of that. So that's why even Paradox said you picked the worst one, because obviously in his timeline he was the worst one. So
which is hinted at a bit early in the film, which we haven't necessarily mentioned. In the bar that Deadpool picks him up in, everyone is like, "Why are you here? No one likes you. Get out."
Yeah. Yeah, even to the point you're not having any more, and then Deadpool says, No, it's on me. I'm having it," or something.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're getting this one-on-one moment, and it's it is genuine empathy from Cassandra Nova in this. It's kind of that first, not cracking the armor we see of Cassandra Nova. It's the wrong way to put it, but it's a different side of Cassandra.
Yeah, it's like the human side to her side, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, and that then leads to a moment where it looks like we're about to hit the end of the film. Cassandra Nova gets apprehended because the Juggernaut's helmet blocks all of her psychic abilities, if you will, because it's the closest thing they've got to Magneto's helmet, which apparently had been melted down with Magneto.
Oh god, yeah, that was another thing. Like, Deadpool was just like so upset that Magneto is dead, and that every time they said something like the helmet's gone, he was like, "Oh," there's like, and he was in it. Oh, oh god.
Yeah, and so this ultimately allows them via Cassandra Nova, because apparently a Doctor Strange had ended up in the void.
Yes.
And she's got one of like the sort of the circle teleport gimmicks.
Yeah.
And they are able to then go back to the Fox universe, which then starts to build up to the final act of the film. Harriet, sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, I was going to say it was a good action sequence with the Alioth, I think, the alien thing that was trying to... That pretty much kills you on contact.
From Loki Season 1, Episode 5?
See, I did my research. Kind of. Because I was intrigued by what this creature was. And it was kind of cool sequence of them trying to leap into like the new void as the Alioth was trying to get towards. And you think, are they going to make it? But also this kind of... This is Marvel. Anything can happen, but obviously that they did get through. And then obviously you were left with everyone else still fighting. Juggernaut's pretty much dead. So is Pyro. I even saw Lady Deathstrike because I saw the hand.
Yeah, there was a very quick cameo of Deathstrike in there.
Yeah, I think Psylocke as well. Someone said Psylocke was down.
I might have missed Psylocke, but they appeared in X-Men Apocalypse, I want to say.
Yes, I think they did. So it's kind of you were left to the fate of what happened to everyone, and I was like, oh, I don't want them to be stuck in the void. But later on, yeah, we find out.
Confirmed by Agent 616. Yes, Psylocke was there.
I thought I did kind of clock her. I will admit, like I saw the sword. I'm like, yeah. So...
Oh, in fact, our own Decadane has said the Last Stand version. I think. Well, maybe actually, maybe.
Yeah.
Either way, Psylocke.
Yeah,
amazing.
I was. Yeah, so it's good to see those cameos in there as well, because obviously what we didn't talk about, Pyro was working with Paradox to kind of like take Cassandra away from what was happening, because obviously she's very powerful.
There's a reason she's in the void.
Yeah, put it that way. Like she was put in as a baby apparently, so and she grew up there. Like she didn't want to leave, and then suddenly, actually no, I'm going to go to this world now. I'm going to see what this world is like. But yeah, carry on.
So yeah, we're in the Fox universe, and Paradox is trying to start up the Time Ripper, and Deadpool and Wolverine are back. They're going to try and stop it, and then Cassandra Nova appears and basically goes, "You've been a naughty boy," and starts like
the hand thing again.
Starts I won't say what I was going to say, but basically the hand in the head. It's quite grim, and just basically walks him down a set of stairs. It's quite a visual. It's quite a visual. And ultimately, we're now in the throes of Cassandra Nova is activating this Time Ripper.
Yep.
But we're not totally done on the surface level of things, because it's kind of in an underground station, a subway station, all this is happening.
Yes.
So we go back to the surface level, and suddenly Dogpool appears, followed by Nicepool, followed by a 100-strong Deadpool core. And we get a ridiculous fight sequence where there are some fun references in this scene as well. I don't know if you noticed, one of the shops was called Liefeld's, which Rob Liefeld is one of the co-creators of Deadpool.
Yes, that was the whole thing of them being thrown into the shoe shop. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a couple of other names as well which are escaping me, but there were some other very direct references to Marvel and X-Men related things in that sequence. We get an insane fight involving the 100 Deadpools versus Deadpool and Wolverine, which also included the Stan Lee cameo of the film. If you did see it, it might be a blink and you miss it, but it was during that moment. I won't say where exactly, in case anyone wants to go and see it after hearing us talk about it. But that happened, and of course, the big fight has happened. We had a big montage sequence, and Deadpool screws up the landing, jumping out the bus.
The fact he referenced it as well was funny. I need to talk about what happened before the fight. So,
please do.
Oh god, right. So, I loved Nicepool is now pretty much dead because he can't regenerate like all the other Deadpools. Which is very funny.
We found this out after a very poignant moment.
Yeah. A human shield is definitely something for me. But yeah, it was kind of yeah, that happened. And then I love the whole thing of Wolverine picking up Dogpool and just walking along. It's like, no, they're definitely not gonna get me.
Because as we discovered, there are two things that Deadpools all love and respect. One of them is doggos. The other we find out a few minutes later.
And then pretty much before the fight, you see the slow... Now, this was in the trailer briefly. You saw the slow motion of them walking to Like a Prayer by Madonna, which... Very good song.
Incredible soundtrack moment.
Oh, such a good song. And then I just see Wolverine standing there and reach. And I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he put his cowl on, and I was just like, my mind is blown. I don't care anymore.
Yeah,
that was an incredible moment, because that's the first time in all the, I think from all the X-Men movies he's been in, that you have seen him with his mask on, and even with the white lining as well. I was just like, wow, we're in for a good time. and then it leads on to the fight.
So good. And while I was going mental at this in the cinema, as were the other 9 people in the room, my first immediate thought was, my God, what was the premiere for this film like? I almost wish there was just like a fan cam of looking at the audience of their reactions, because this must have been insane.
There are a few on YouTube I have seen because obviously algorithms, but
Yeah.
it's mainly of audience. They haven't shown the pit; they've just shown a still,
Yeah.
and the audience reactions are incredible to
Yeah.
this. And do you know what? I totally agree because it was just a case of, oh yeah, shit's about to go down now.
And boy, did it.
Did it? Yeah.
So good. Incredible fight. And then suddenly, a character who we'd seen a few times throughout the film by the name of Peter
Oh,
walks up
Peter.
in his Deadpool costume. And the second thing that all Deadpools love and respect is Peter.
Everyone, yeah, because I suddenly thought at the end of this fight, I'm like, they're not dead. And then suddenly you just see them slowly like reasserting their bones or like healing. And I was just like, round two? Peter turns up and I thought, maybe not. I honestly thought they were going to attack him. But then they said, no, we love him. I was just like, phew, okay, that's fine. I wouldn't mind another action sequence, to be fair. But the whole way that was filmed as well was incredible, like from left to right. Like all the ways that Wolverine and Deadpool attacked all the other Deadpools. The bus. I mean, there was even a sequence I noticed because there's one thing Deadpool usually does is that, like the shock face.
The
And
guy
one of the
in the driver's
Deadpools,
seat.
yeah, he literally just turned to the camera and it's like sort of thing. And I did enjoy the references to that. Obviously, they're being attacked, the blood's getting bloodied and whatnot, and then obviously the dive at the end and Deadpool messing it up. The whole, I wonder how long it took them to film that in. I don't know if that was one shot or kind of marred into one, but still, that I was just watching that in awe from like a movie fan, sort of how they did that. And how incredible that was as well. And then obviously appreciating the fight scene at the same time. It just like, it's been a while. I've seen a movie that's made me kind of like in awe of like just how fantastic that was done, sort of thing. And I just, yeah, I want to see that again for sure. That scene in particular.
Now, one thing we've not mentioned is very early in the film, part of the big premise of the story was, well, we referenced the fact that Deadpool wanted to be part of the Avengers, and we saw him have an interview with Happy. He was pulled in by the TVA from his universe because Logan had died, and was basically offered, why don't you go to the MCU, which was all pretty much what they said, and go be with the actual Avengers.
Yeah.
They basically said, look, you can have this. This is what you want. And that's not how things worked out. But what this led to was Deadpool basically being told, you need to have a purpose, and you just don't have one.
Yeah.
And throughout this film, we're getting so much references to the Fox universe, the possibility of maybe the Fox universe merging with the MCU. They even telegraphed something that may happen in a future film, outright showing you a moment involving Thor very early on.
Yeah.
Which, who knows if that will actually come to pass or not? For all we know, it might. But pushing that to one side. So we're coming to the very closing stages of the film now. And it all comes down to Cassandra Nova activating this Time Ripper, which we discover involves both, I think it's antimatter and just regular matter, as it were, to power it. I can't remember the exact phrasing. But the two elements combined are dangerous. And there's only one way to stop it. It's inevitable. You've got to connect both sides together. Boom, type thing.
Yeah.
And so we're having a very big heart-to-heart with Wolverine and Deadpool. Thank you very much, Agent 616. Yes, antimatter. So we're having a big heart-to-heart moment where Deadpool's like, right, well, I pulled you into this mess, Wolverine. It's only right that I rectify this. And so you can go back and do your own thing. And then Wolverine basically goes, F off, I've got nothing else to live for. I'm going to go and do it. And then we get this big moment of a goodbye. It feels like it's, okay, the Jackman run is officially coming to a close. Like, we're getting this moment, and then, bam! Surprise! We get a quick bait and switch, and Deadpool goes in, milks it for all it's worth.
The whole... It's so funny. It's so Deadpool.
And so then Deadpool is like getting one of these like power cables for one side of this machine. He's trying to reach the other, but he can't quite get it. Wolverine's trying to bash down this ridiculous door, and he somehow gets in. And then basically grabs Deadpool's arm and then spikes his claws into the other one. And then we just see the two of them have all the juice, if you will, go through them. And this is when if everyone had been craving to see the abs of one Mr. Hugh Jackman, this was your moment.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah. Because it's like
From
they
my
saved
perspective,
it for this.
even Deadpool was just like,
The top layer of his costume literally exploded.
Oh god. I think the women screamed. I'm not surprised. The women screamed a lot more in the cinema at that point.
Yep. I mean,
'Cause,
look, cards on the table. I did. Just that moment of, oh, mate.
To be fair, I think the running joke was all the way throughout, because obviously you thought this Wolverine had let himself go.
Yeah.
Nope, that's definitely not the worst Wolverine.
And one of the best. I analyze this far too much. The best one was when they did a close up of his stomach, so close that in IMAX you could see the hair on his stomach, and then Deadpool was just like, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, right?
And so all this energy
I'm turning red because
it's all good. It's all good. All this energy is being pumped into them, and then boom.
Yeah, you think that's it, game over, sort of thing. Because it kind of became a. Was it like a Pray they were playing again? I can't remember the name of the song.
I can't remember that point. There was so many great points in the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So many great points.
Yeah.
But we then get someone else from the TVA involved. It's a person who was involved in the first season of Loki. I forget their name, so apologies for not knowing, folks.
Hunter B15?
That might be it, yeah. So they're sort of now a bigwig, for want of a better word, and they're told, "Hey, there's something going on over in this bit," and then they head over to Paradox's area designation, whichever the phrase is. And so Paradox is like, "Oh, we managed to stop them. Like, they're like my friends. You know, they're heroes, really." Which everyone in my cinema is cracking up at this because it's being done so well. And then suddenly Deadpool then shouts something from like the other room and just goes, "Wait a minute!" And he just shouts, "Earth!" Just the most passionate you could ever have. And ultimately, Paradox is taken away. We find out that both Deadpool and Wolverine are both alive because they effectively shared all the power being generated and pumped into them. So that's how they were able to survive with their respective healing factors.
Yeah.
Which then brings us into arguably some of the big final moments of the film, because they're both having a burrito, sitting on a sidewalk. Dogpool is now the pet of Deadpool. And there's this moment when Deadpool effectively says to Wolverine, "So, see you around?" And he's just like, "Probably not." But he just walks away. And the key detail, folks, is moments earlier, we were told by the TVA agent whose name escapes me that you just said, that he doesn't need to go back to his universe, and it isn't creating a paradox now. Wrong word given the name of the other villain, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It isn't creating an issue because for all the wrong that the worst Wolverine had done in his universe, he had effectively undone or made up for that by the sacrifice he was determined to make for the Fox universe. And so Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is milling about in the Fox universe.
I love the line. It was like very on in the film. I think Deadpool was like, "They're gonna keep him on until he's 90." It's just like, I'm like, "Yep, this is gonna be a thing."
And that's pretty much how the film wraps up. We sort of get this moment of things are all right with the Fox universe. They've teased the idea it might be integrated into the MCU. With the next set of films that are coming out, it kind of makes sense this will still become an element of things at play. And then the credits start rolling. And about a minute or so in, we suddenly kind of get like, we get some footage playing in like one side of the screen. And it's behind the scenes B-roll from all of the Fox X-Men films. Just various moments of takes, of outtakes, of interview clips, of wishes, their feelings. A very poignant clip with Hugh Jackman talking about the pressure of being Wolverine, and at that point, an unknown actor, pretty much in his first big role. It was a wonderful cap on what is effectively the swan song, the proper swan song for the Fox X-Men universe.
Yeah.
And genuinely, and this might sound really dumb, I started to well up a bit because it's just like
I did as
this
well.
was so good. Because I said at the start of our discussion, this film for me was perfect. For all the films I had watched over the years, the cameos we got in this film, never thinking I'd ever see those characters again. It was all of that, the entire Fox universe encapsulated into one almost celebration-like film as to what made it so special. And then when that sort of B-roll ended, it's like, oh, that was really good. And I didn't know if there was anything after the credits, so I thought, you know what? I'm just going to stick around, just take it in.
It's Marvel. Always stay.
Yeah,
always stay.
but because it was technically a Fox Universe film, I thought, are they just going to end it there? Because they could. But no. There was a stinger. And it was Deadpool coming back into like the TVA office. And he effectively goes, right, I need to like clear the air here a little bit. People said I was lying about what Johnny Storm said. I have evidence. And then we find out that all that stuff we had heard Johnny Storm allegedly say during the film, there was footage of it because there was a hidden camera in their little prison cell. And we see Chris Evans recite all of this stuff that Deadpool says. It is insane, everything he is saying.
I love the fact Deadpool was egging him on as well. Like he spotted the camera and it's like, oh,
go on. Tell me more about Cassandra Nova.
I just love the parallels of the fact that Chris Evans, Captain America, never swore, or if he did, Iron Man was like, language. And then you have Johnny Storm swearing like a trooper. To the point I was just like,
so good.
I think that was the best way. I mean, I always check on Google to make sure is there an after credit scene, but make sure not to see what happened. So I didn't see it, but I was told yes there was, and it is somewhat important. But yeah, the whole that ended. I love that. The whole thing with the B-roll shoots. Oh my god, it brought me back to when I first saw the X-Men movies in the cinema. I think I missed all but one watching it in the cinema, but it was lovely. Even with Ryan as well, because they even talked about when he was first Deadpool, like the one people don't really want to talk about, but obviously it was monumental because now he is Deadpool now. Forevermore.
In the interview clip that they showed, there's a moment where he says, I've read the comics and I was really looking forward to playing him. And he kind of said, I hope I get to play him like he is in the comics one day.
And the pivotal, the pivotal role, it came full circle. I mean, it was incredible because now it is a thing now. When I see Ryan Reynolds on TV, even if he's doing like the football stuff with Wrexham FC, to me, he is Deadpool.
Yeah.
End of. Actually, funnily enough, there were two footballers from Wrexham FC who were in the movie.
Of course there were. I didn't realise this, but of course there were.
So one of them was the Wales Deadpool.
Oh, the Welsh Deadpool.
The Welsh Deadpool. And in the scene where the last Wolverine, you know, the worst one, he was kind of in one of the footballs. I don't know the name. Sorry, I apologize. But he was in the background of that scene as well. So they were both in it. And you had his wife, Blake Lively, she was Lady Deadpool. It was speculated, and it turned out it was. His daughter was the child Deadpool, I think.
There was a child Deadpool that said some naughty language.
Yeah. And I think a few others of his family. I learned today that Tom Holland's cousin was one of the Deadpools as well. One of the extras. But there were so many versions. There was a futuristic one. Yeah.
I know I said a Welsh Deadpool because I could see some chat going for people saying in the chat. It was literally just in view only. So it was like view only. The costume basically had the Welsh flag right across the chest.
Yeah, we never heard them. The only people who spoke were Nice Paul, Lady Deadpool,
the baby and the kid.
The baby, the kid, the head, and I think the Japanese Deadpool as well.
Yes.
because
Yeah.
they were speaking about Peter. So
Yeah.
that's all we heard, and we don't know anything else in regards to what the variants were. There was lots of them. Put it that way. If you know Deadpool, the comics, there's loads of variants. There's even Gwenpool at some point, and I've even seen fan
Was
art of
Gwenpool in there? Because I never saw
no,
Gwenpool. Oh, okay.
sadly no. I wish, because I
Hmm.
love Gwenpool. Also, we never said towards the end, at the end of the movie, Laura came back because they did ask. I think they Deadpool did ask Hunter, can you bring back some of our friends? We only saw Laura and Elektra.
Yeah,
So
from the void.
from the void. We don't know about Blade. Obviously, Blade probably not because vampire.
So that's the other line we need to make mention of.
Okay.
There is a moment in Cassandra Nova's base when Wesley Snipes' Blade
I'm not going to
got,
drink
like,
just in case.
it's got like a bazooka and is going, "I am the only Blade!" And then there's just a moment where Ryan Reynolds Deadpool just like looks at the camera and goes like this.
Yeah, it's a reference to
To Mahershala Ali being Blade. It was just mwah, chef's kiss moment.
It was so good. Oh god. So we don't know what happened with Blade or Gambit.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they're in the world because we don't know what happened. But it was nice to see Laura.
I need this Gambit to be real for more.
Oh god,
please.
so do I. Please, please, let this happen. I just want to see a Gambit movie with Channing Tatum. End of.
It's insane, but
Oh,
this film, I said at the start of us talking about it, I've said it a couple of times now, that this film was perfect in my opinion.
yeah.
I stand by that. This was a reward for watching so many films over the years, for wanting more of it, for paying attention. In some ways, for grinning and bearing through some of the films that have been produced, but always having an affinity for it wanting to be really good and wanting to enjoy them. And 9 times out of 10, I did enjoy the films, but a lot of those films aren't perfect. But this was the true swan song for the Fox Marvel universe as a whole.
And I did spot one Easter egg as well straight away. And it was kind of hinted at of San Diego Comic-Con as well, because obviously big news of that coming over the weekend. When when they both arrived in the void and Deadpool was lying down, I noticed a comic to the right.
Oh. I did not because the IMAX screen was so big, but...
Oh, fair enough. Luckily my screen was small. It said Secret Wars.
Yes.
It was the Secret Wars comic, and it was the comic with a certain Doctor Doom on it. So
yeah, so I guess I'll let. So to sort of, we'll move on to some other things that have come out, as it were. But but final thoughts on this Deadpool and Wolverine movie for you, based on what I just said and such.
I loved it. I am desperately wanting to see it again very soon. Because I think. With the first Deadpool, I've saw 3 times in the cinema. Second one, I haven't seen yet, but I will do. This one, I want to see it again, in a bigger cinema, like I said, so I can absorb it a lot more, like you did, like with sound and whatnot. So for me, I saw more visual this time rather than sound. So I'd like to have it the other way round this time.
Trust me, you'll see Hugh Jackman's abs. Believe me. Like...
There I go, turning red again.
My work here is done.
In all, I went out. No, I kid you not. No, I did message because I didn't want to spoil you hadn't seen it, but I did go on a bit of a hunt on Saturday for looking out for certain merch and whatnot. One of them was that.
Oh, you got one of the cups, did you?
I got one of the cups. I was afraid to, and then obviously the other side had Wolverine. So I made sure to take a photo of that because it was like, and I have like a bucket as well. And as much as I hate bobbleheads and pop figures,
you caved.
I caved. There's apparently a second one of these, so I need to look for that. So yeah, I kind of, and then got this as well because I had to. So that's how much I love the film. It's I wouldn't say it's like a hyperfixation per se. I know Matty's going to message me after and go BS. But no, I seriously, it's like you said, it was like the perfect swan song to end the Fox reign of X-Men films. Where it goes going forward, I don't know, but I am excited to see, especially now that we've had like X-Men 97 of late and
Mhm.
how incredible that has been. And that was the spark that got me kind of getting back into X-Men again. Not
Mhm.
to say Fox wasn't bad, but it was just more like, I think we've spoke about it anyway, like in groups or separately, but it's just like watching Marvel films, you felt burnt out after a while.
Mhm.
And I think after Endgame, I was thinking I wasn't in a rush to watch many things, even some of the shows I haven't watched, like Loki, for example, but I know of it. But watching this has kind of given me that spark again to watch the next set of Marvel films. I know the next two have been announced, and it's kind of okay. Let's see how this goes forward. Who's going to be incorporated? Is there going to be more X-Men? Is there going to be new Marvel characters? And even like the interview with Happy, there were so many mementos in the office in regards
Mhm.
to past Avengers movies, like the Shield,
Iron Man's helmets.
I'm a Talbot, Scarlet Witch. It was just like, my God, it made you remember um why you loved these films to begin with, and it's kind of okay. I remember why I loved these films and why I was so excited. Heck, I still remember when I came out of the first Avengers movie, giddy, because I was just like,
Mhm.
this is the ignition I need to like watch these movies and watch them again and again.
Hmm.
So I'm really grateful for this movie for doing that, because it's just, it was like you said, it was perfect. I know it was crazy in my view, but in my also it was just amazing.
Hmm.
And long may it continue, and I do want to see more of these movies in the future, and if they're as good as this, I'll be very, very happy.
Agreed. And talking about Happy and then leading on to more things coming, the interview scene with Happy at the beginning of the film, which we really haven't mentioned all that much aside from referencing it,
Mm.
part of the reason I've not mentioned it is because that was really the first instance in this film when it really hits you in the face. Holy crap, a Fox Universe guy is in an MCU set. Because
Yeah.
we've not really seen that before.
I
And it's
know.
only when, it's like you said, you see Deadpool's in the same room as Captain America's shield, as Iron Man's helmet, Scarlet Witch, and you're just like, that's not allowed.
I know. It's just like, what's going on?
And then you mentioned the Doctor Doom comic, which I think is a natural segue to move on to San Diego Comic Con, because conveniently, San Diego Comic Con was the same weekend of the opening weekend of Deadpool and Wolverine. And from what I can gather, things occurred. There is only one thing I am aware of when it comes to this. Well, technically two, but it all encompasses to one. And that is that the Russo brothers are back, and they
Yeah.
are directing the next two mainline Avenger films. The second of which, because I can't remember the first one, is called Secret Wars.
I will
I
find
believe that is what it
out.
is. But either way, they're coming out in 2025 and
Oh,
2026, apparently. So
yeah.
we've got two big Avengers films, and if this film, Deadpool and Wolverine, did anything, it really established we are back to quality over quantity.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm
That,
still looking at the meantime. It's
oh,
just
in
like,
fact, Decadane is correcting me in the chat. It's three Marvel films in 2025. This is how out of the loop I am.
oh
So
God.
we might end up doing sort of a separate podcast talking about this stuff, sort of when
Yeah,
the dust has settled a bit more. But
it's definitely something we need to talk about, because it's
yeah,
kind of, especially now you have the new, because obviously Endgame ended that way, and now
yeah.
you've had things like the Marvels and the Eternals as well. This is
Mhm.
like the next gen. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
But of
so
course, the other sort of big element of these
mm,
announcements was the confirmation that the big bad of these Avengers films, or the next arc, if you will, in the MCU, is going to be Doctor Doom. It's not going to be Kang, which again, I'm not going to mention that name again for obvious reasons, but just for point of reference. We are now going to have Doctor Doom as the big bad.
yeah.
And the reason for that is, well, could be the main villain, but who is Doctor Doom? There is one clip I have seen while trying to avoid spoilers for Deadpool and Wolverine of the announcement of this. And
You
there is just
couldn't
like,
escape it. You really
there is
couldn't.
an army of Doctor Dooms on the stage at San Diego Comic Con in Hall H. And the one in the center is sort of prompted to, oh, why don't we find out who it is? Takes off the mask.
The parting of the waves.
It's Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. Which the reaction is wild. Which obviously wild. Because if there's one thing people have wanted and people have been saying, is they somehow wanted Downey Jr. back in the MCU. And the logical assumption was, it's comics, they'll bring it back to life. But are they?
I mean, isn't the saying, like, you're the hero, you live long enough to become the villain, or something along the lines of that? That's the first thing I thought of, but yeah, I'm still mixed about this. I'm not gonna lie.
How so, out of interest?
I don't know. I was just thinking, I think we're going into Endgame spoiler territory here if you have not seen it, so I apologize. Listen for like 20 seconds. The fact that he died, like Iron Man, that was perfect. That sounds terrible, but that was like the way it should have ended. But now
it was the perfect swan song.
It was the swan song for Iron Man. Yes. And spoilers here. That's why I'm conflicted as to why he's being brought back. I know multiverse and all this, so it might not be. It might be another version of Tony Stark. I don't know. It's just more like, I don't know. I'm still trying to think about how this is going to connect. Even it's put in the chat, stop with the multiverse. I agree. I'm kind of like, yeah, it needs to stop. I know it kind of was hinted at it in we're trying. It was hinted at in Deadpool and Wolverine, but yeah, I'm worried they're gonna carry on with it, and it's just like, it's been done, and I should be happy. I should be happy as a Marvel fan that the fact that he is back, but also I don't know. I feel like
well, let me try and put sort of paint a little picture to this, as it were, because if I remember correctly, and someone with far more comics knowledge than me can correct me if I'm wrong here, but Secret Wars in the history of the Marvel Universe has traditionally been a way of hitting the reset button on the Marvel Universe as a whole, be it not conmalgamating, that's not a word, like combining things together, resetting the status quo. It's traditionally been something like that, akin to a crisis event in DC Comics.
Yeah.
So I ultimately think this will reset the playing field as to what is the MCU universe, if you will, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So for me, the part that makes me most excited about this is, one, is it going to be him being Tony Stark from a different universe being Doctor Doom? Or is this literally Robert Downey Jr. playing Victor Von Doom and is actually playing a different character? Because if Deadpool and Wolverine has established one thing, Chris Evans has played two characters. Or if anything, it's brought that more into the public consciousness, if you will. There's a fly in my room. Into the public consciousness that was a thing that happened.
Yes.
So I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. But also, what I really want to see is Iron Man has always, the character of Tony Stark in the MCU was a bit of a dick at the best of times, to put it mildly.
On a good day.
Exactly. And we saw little teases that he could potentially be like an amazing villain, but it will never happen with him being Iron Man. The idea that Robert Downey Jr. might be playing the main villain in the MCU excites me so much. Even if he is Tony Stark, if it's Victor Von Doom, whichever it ultimately is, of which, per the chat apparently, according to Matty, apparently they said he'll be Victor, which if that's the case, freaking great. I am happy. He will be,
a complete different character,
Which means he gets to play it differently as well, if that is the case. And if there's one thing that Robert Downey Jr. really got into, it was the character arc of Tony Stark across all the films he was in. And the idea that he can build Doctor Doom from the ground up, it excites me so much. for how this might play out. And will any of this come into play in the 2025 films, which Decadane kindly put in the chat for us, which is Captain America Brave New World, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four First Steps. The logical assumption being that Doctor Doom is traditionally a Fantastic Four villain. So one would assume that might be the first appearance that we get of Doctor Doom in some capacity.
You'd think, yeah, obviously, if it's going to build on to this. And I found the other two, so Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. So those are the ones that kind of build up. Because obviously you're going to have all these movies that, as they did before, build up onto these two movies. And I think there's a year apart of how they're doing it. So a bit like Endgame and, the name escapes me, the movie prior to that.
Infinity War.
Because it's Infinity War. Thank you. My brain is melted.
No, understandable. I'm there with you. But yeah, that's all I know from Comic-Con, as it were, in terms of news stuff. I don't know anything else that's occurred, because again, try and stay spoiler-free on stuff, but
I mean, I clicked onto TikTok, and the first thing I saw was a spoiler for all the cameos from Deadpool and Wolverine, and I was just thinking, oh boy, I hope no one else I know is gonna see this. That's why I was kind of, even when I went to the cinema looking for these things, I was speaking to the girl behind the counter, and she said to me, I haven't seen it yet. And I said, please, for the love of God, avoid the internet. And this was on Saturday, so this was literally 2 days after the film had come out. And I said, please don't go anywhere on the internet. And she said, I have tried so hard. And I said to her, avoid TikTok, definitely. I haven't seen much more either, apart from obviously Doctor Doom and now Deadpool and Wolverine. And I did see something about the Thunderbirds as well. Not Thunderbirds,
no, I need the Thunderbirds in the MCU. Are you kidding me? I need Tracy Island in the MCU. Give that to me right now.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? What a way to mess that up, but make it ultimately better.
That's the name of the other Avengers film. It's Avengers Doomsday, I believe. Doomsday, is the other one.
Doomsday and Secret Wars. Yeah. Oh my god.
May not be in that order. It might be Secret Wars then Doomsday, but either way. Yeah. But yeah, folks, get Tracy Island into the MCU. That's my next goal, as it were.
Oh my god, I'm just imagining all of that. Stingray, Captain Scarlet. Oh god, that's it. My brain has gone now for the rest of the evening.
Would you? On that note, I think this is a good time to start wrapping up. So I guess sort of any other business or any other thoughts thing. Any other thoughts from the film or anything else that's come out after the fact? Any random factoids or Easter eggs that you noticed that you've not had a chance to mention? Harriet, floor is yours.
I think I've pretty much covered all the ones I knew of. Obviously, there are videos out there on the internet if you want to explore. There's one guy called Emergency Awesome, and he spent the whole hour talking about every single Easter egg and every single detail. I have not watched all of it. I've only watched yeah. Oh no, he seriously goes into all the lore of Marvel, Doctor Who, everything. I think, yeah, that's. I mean, I'm looking at my list here, and I'm like. No, I think I've covered everything, to be fair. I even put music cues, especially The Greatest Show. That was in my notes because I'm like, no, I need to make sure I talk about this. Yeah, also Bye 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 is still a great song. I don't care what anyone says. I listen to it on loop a lot, and heck, if you see me at KeetoCon, if you want me to do the dance, heck, I'll do it for you. Don't worry, I've learned it off by heart.
And look forward to listening to it in IMAX audio. In Dolby Atmos or whatever it is, because it's an experience.
I need to do that. Oh god. Oh dear. Oh, actually, a random fact before I go. People were kind of disappointed, but I'm not, that they found out that the person who danced at the beginning wasn't Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, well, if Ryan Reynolds could dance that, incredible. I don't know the guy's name.
What I will say to this, Harriet, is when you see it in IMAX, you will try and watch him dancing, but you are too drawn by the pieces of adamantium bone flying across the screen with people's credits on them.
Oh my god. It's incredible. I'm trying to find oh, here we go. Because this guy deserves so much credit. Nick Pauly, his name is. And he is on TikTok and Instagram. I saw a video earlier of him doing the behind the scenes of him learning the dance and like being told, you need to learn this. It's for a big project, and he had no clue what it was until obviously he did the dance, and it's just like,
it's like,
what
no
a
pressure,
way.
pal.
I mean, if I was told that, I'd learn it like that. I mean, I kind of knew the dance anyway, but I learned it a bit more for my for the video I did. But it was just a case of he really went into it. But when seeing that opening sequence, I'm like, is he going to do the dance? Is he? He did the dance. But yeah, soundtrack is incredible. Like a Prayer is still a great song. I will say this one thing. You know, when Lady in Red played, I thought it was going to be for Lady Deadpool. And do you know what? I wasn't disappointed that it was for Dogpool. I was just like, do you know what? I respect that. I love that. And the whole slow motion sequence. Bless that dog. I think her name is Betty and she's 10 years old and been dubbed the ugliest dog of Britain. And I'm like, nope, she is beautiful to me.
A national treasure. I will not have this.
No, literally, it's like that scene from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I've only met Betty for so long, but I would die for her. So, those are my closing thoughts. Go see the movie. It's incredible.
So good. And folks, if you have enjoyed sort of this kind of casual conversation about the films, like we say, this is kind of like a pilot test of something that we have got in the works here at BunkaMania UK, in a big sort of expansion of upcoming content relating to wrestling, television shows, movies, all sorts of things. So stay tuned throughout the month of August, or perhaps more towards the end of August, I should say, when there will be a bit of a relaunch, if you will, with more things. But if you want more things BunkaMania UK in the meantime, you have, of course, got the archive of our podcast that we have done. And funnily enough, there'll be one this coming weekend / Monday, depending how life works out, talking about WWE's SummerSlam pay-per-view that's taking place this weekend in the latest edition, or what will be the latest edition of BunkaMania Wrestling. And then, folks, towards the end of August, it's AEW All In, so you could expect some other kind of content relating to that coming up as well. But
as Ian put in, we have quizzes as well coming up.
Very true. There is also quizzes, and just to emphasize the proof of that, and quizzes, all caps. For those of you watching the video version, you can see that there. So, folks, thank you very much for listening. If you're interested in checking us out when we do our own sort of personal streams, for want of a better word, Harriet, what's the best way people can find you online?
Usually on Twitch, Harriett_manga girl. So at the moment, I've kind of been doing watch-alongs. I'm streaming tomorrow night, depending on the weather, because oh my god, I know we're both melting. We've done remarkably well. I'm going to give ourselves a pat on the back in regards to how hot it was recording this.
I've got a pot of ice cream waiting in the freezer for me, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, I've got a low-fat salted caramel to go,
yes!
I'll tell you. So I think tomorrow it might be a watch-along or it might be Fortnite, because Decadene's taking a break at the moment. So I've asked, should I do Fortnite in the meantime? Because I haven't played it in a while. So I've been given the go-ahead to do that. So it might be tomorrow, but it will be definitely next week. For sure. And then we're coming up to the last set of reactions for Monday Night War, because it's like the last 4 weeks now. I'm sad it's come to an end. I'm not going to lie. It's gone by so quick. So youtube.com/mangagirl232. You can find all my reactions there. And follow me on Twitter at mangagirl232. I usually say when I'm streaming, what I'm streaming. I should post a lot more on my socials, I will say this, but yeah, it's going to be very busy the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I will try and stream as much as I can before KitaCon, because I think the week after that I will be taking the break as well, because I need a week to recover. But yeah, just watch out for my Twitter and you'll know when I'm streaming and what videos I'll be reacting to.
There you go. If you want to catch me, I tend to stream every Friday night from 7 p.m. UK time, currently doing a first ever playthrough for me of the second Ace Attorney game. So if you fancy some kind of visual novel dramatic readings with myself and Felfloney, you can catch us at twitch.tv/Giraffemy, as you see it on the screen if you're on the video version, Geraffemy. And there you can also find links to various other things that I do as well, including this here podcast, which will be weird to click through and find it again, because you're already watching and or listening to it, as we hope you will be this coming weekend when we discuss WWE SummerSlam. With that being said, from all of the BunkaMania team, And of course, from Harriett Manga Girl and myself, the Giraffe Me, Jeremy Graves, thank you so much for watching and or listening. Take care and snicked!